Okay, cool. So who wants to play a little game with me?
I'll play.
Sure.
Okay, thanks for Okay, so I want you to describe to me who you are without going into like a story or a label.
Without a story or a label.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I mean, can we like narrow it down like a label? What would be considered a label?
We'll just start talking and I'll
Okay.
yeah.
Russian American immigrant.
Okay.
Uh,
That's all a
y-
label.
that's all a label. Okay, so all right, all right. Funny, outgoing.
Mm,
Uh,
that's a label also.
that's also a label. I just am, okay?
Yes. Exactly,
Good
exactly,
answer.
right? And if you, I want you to like feel into this, right? Like who you are can't really be described by just words, right? That's so limiting, right? When you try to describe yourself as like, I am a man or I am a woman, right? These are just words. And actually, when you kind of feel into that space and think about all the things that you said to me, you would have to say, I am XYZ,
Mhm.
right? So who's the I? Right. So when you start kind of looking into that, you're like, yeah, I can't be defined by those limited labels. That feels very small, right? And so I love that last thing. You're like, I just am, right? And that actually feels, doesn't that for me, when I think about that, that feels really freeing. Right?
Expensive, feels
Yeah,
expensive.
yes, exactly, exactly. Yes, it is because it is, right? It's we're not like boxing ourselves into these like small little concepts. So cool. So we'll do a meditation, and then we'll do wins, and then we'll do Q&A, and I want to help support you guys. And I really want to talk about resistance because this is really about the time that the resistance really sets in. I feel like when you first like invest in something like this, right? You're like gung ho, you're excited, you get down to do the work, and then like after a couple of weeks, it's like the wall, and especially with this module. So we can talk through that and just talk about like ways to kind of loosen that resistance and yeah, what is your resistance, like what it is, and we'll kind of explore that. But I would love to help support any of you guys on what's coming up. Cool.
Great.
Okay. All right. So just why don't you close down your eyes? If you feel more comfortable, you could shut your camera off and just take a big deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out. Relaxing your neck, your shoulders, your scalp. Just coming into this present moment. Take another big deep breath in through your nose and exhale through the mouth, long and slow. Do a little body scan, see if you're holding any tension anywhere, and see if you can just soften it and give the signal to your body to relax. Maybe notice where your body's still like holding on and just see if you can soften it. Now take one more big deep breath in through your nose, the biggest one that you've taken all day, and hold it at the top, filling your lungs completely. Take one more little sip of air and completely exhale it out long and slow through your mouth. Check in with yourself again and just kind of give yourself a little bit of a ranking. Where are you at physically, mentally, emotionally? Just check in with yourself. Notice without judgment. Now I want you to think of yourself as a baby. When you were a baby, you didn't have these labels for yourself, yet you still were. Feel into the essence of that. Just pure awareness before any names and labels came in. That same awareness that was you as a baby is now you as an adult. But now we have a lot of masks that we wear over this awareness. Notice who you are as an adult. This character that you built. Maybe you try to be a certain way. Maybe you try to be smart or try to be pleasing. Try to be personable. Just notice without judgment. Who would you be without that trying? We think that we have to try to be virtuous, try to be a good person. But did you do that as a baby? Your true nature is just pure. That's who you are at the core. It's peace, it's expansive. Notice if thoughts pop in, just let them go and come back to your breath. They arise from nowhere and they go back to nowhere. Nothing that changes is the real you. You are the one witnessing the changes. The changes in your body, the changes in your thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And you're just there witnessing it. I want you to see yourself in your mind's eye. How could that be you if you can see yourself? It's like the movie and the screen. You're not the movie, you're just the screen. You're the projector, you're not the image. You are the field that everything arises in. Let's repeat the question. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Notice if your mind tries to give you an answer or tries to figure it out. Just witness that. It's a game of the ego mind. You don't have to stop it. You just watch it. Ready, you can start deepening your breath, wiggling your toes, blinking your eyes open. How did that go?
Good.
Cool. It's just like this practice of questioning, right? It's just like a little bit of inquiry, um, to kind of examine, right? To try to again shine that light back on to what is aware.
Mhm.
I'm just writing a note down that I have something I want to send you guys. Okay, cool. So just yeah, actually let's do wins and then I'll just kind of talk a little bit about a couple things and then we'll dive in. Who wants to share first?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, I had a really good week last week, making some contacts and getting together some folks in my network to, hopefully keep moving in the direction of raising capital. Got some good. One was Greg from our last
Cool.
session.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say he was probably at the dinner, right?
He wasn't, but
Oh,
he
okay.
invited me to breakfast out at
Oh,
Centennial
cool.
Airport.
Oh,
And
nice.
so went out there. It was actually Saturday morning, and
Cool.
yeah, had some really good conversations and talking
Awesome.
about, kind of how we both are. Even though he's really at a totally different place at running his company, that we're still kind of still each struggling with similar kind of barriers
Yeah.
that we're
Huh.
trying to punch through. So yeah, it was really good. And then the
Cool.
CFA dinner, saw some people I hadn't seen for a bit and made some new connections and had a really fun conversation with that author that was the speaker
Yeah,
there.
that's awesome.
So yeah, it was a good week last week.
Cool. That's awesome. I was
Great.
thinking about you after you sent that, and I wanted to send you a voice note, and I forgot, and so I'll just tell you here that like you're so personable. I remember the first time I met you, I did a talk for the CFA Society, and you like came right up to me after, and like you were super friendly and engaging, and you really, I really want you to harness that, right? Because you're such a great networker. Like you're really good at kind of like disarming people and just like getting to know people on a personal level and like just being somebody that they can trust right away. So yeah, I just think you're making great connections and I just like want you to do even more of it.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. I have one of the contacts I made through the CFA. One of the CFA events was she works there at Mercer, and I think I mentioned that
Oh,
I had a call with
yeah.
her a couple weeks ago, and she told me that she thought I needed to start presenting at these events
Mm.
what I'm doing with the fund, the AI fund, because there's a lot. It's just such a hot topic right now, and people
It
would really
really
hear
is.
about it.
Was it Jane?
Yeah, Jane. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, she's at Mercer now? I didn't know that.
yeah.
I like Jane. I just invited her to something.
Yeah, she is. So do you know Dino,
No.
her
Mm-mm.
boyfriend Dino? So he
Oh,
was
no,
the
I don't.
one that invited us um to the opera.
Opera.
So he's on
Okay.
the board of the opera. And
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
yeah, so had met Jane and
Oh,
Dino
nice.
together at one of those events. And
Cool.
yeah, they're a fun couple. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Regina, do you have any interest in coming to Denver in September for this event? I'm going to email it to you and tell you about it. It's my
Ooh,
mentor that's like hosting this like really cool event for like women in business. She's like a total badass. It's going to be really fun. But anyway,
ooh.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah, send it to me. Send it to me.
Yeah. Um, cool. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Just keep doing that. You guys know, right, that Ben started an AI hedge fund and he's trying to like get investors in that so that he can then leave his
Wow.
do that full time. And it's an awesome, it's I just think the more you just need to spread the word more. And I mean, it's such a great investment for right now. I think people are just like looking for that. And yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you
cool.
gotta talk to the right people, I
yeah,
suppose. Just
yeah,
it'll happen. Yeah.
awesome. Great win.
Huh.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I'll share. I don't know if this was a win, but we
It
had
is.
booked out a concert, one of my like childhood
Mm.
bands, rock bands that's kind of probably on their last tour for North America. So so we went and it was a great show. We had family, friends, and it was a lot of fun just to go and be present. But I guess in the middle of it, as I'm sitting there thinking about, like, I started listening to this music when I was in my teens, and now I'm not, and I'm watching these guys up playing who are now in their 70s and just rocking it. But I started thinking about like kind of one of the exercises that you had us do, which is like where I was, like 30 plus years ago, listening to this stuff as a teenager before high school, and how it was different. So I just caught myself listening like, oh my God, like this is like kind of weird. Like, I mean, before, labels and school and
Yeah, I love
reads
that.
and
Ooh.
stuff like that. But then I stopped and just enjoyed the rest of the show.
Yeah, but it's
But
cool. It's cool to have kind of, it's almost like a mystical moment, right?
it is, and it was one of the exercises that you had about just going back in time before,
Mm.
again, all these, labels and
Yeah,
responsibilities and stuff
yeah.
like that. And it was really, yeah, it was pretty interesting. And actually I sparked a conversation afterwards with in the car with everybody about the same thing. It was like, geez, do you remember,
Cool.
like, 30 plus years ago what you were doing and how different you were and stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
love that.
that's pretty cool.
Who is the band?
AC/DC.
Oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. Fun. Yeah, so I believe actually that music is a portal. And so one time I was in a yoga class and we were doing like the cool down and she put Let It Be on by the Beatles, which is a song that I love and I'm always like moved by it. And all of a sudden I saw like flash in my mind's eye all these different times. I'm getting like chills just talking about times where I was listening to it, and it just like connected me to all those moments. It was kind of wild. So I feel like you almost had that same type of thing, right? Like connecting
Yeah.
with young John before all the responsibilities in the world gets to you. So that's awesome
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
Brian, you joined us.
I'm so sorry I was late. I'm at some
Yeah, no
conference and
worries.
they went over.
Yep, no worries. Where are you? Anywhere fun?
Clearwater Beach.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're doing wins. So,
Okay.
yeah, Regina, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, for me, probably was the big one is to move, right? That like, especially after we moved, there was another earthquake, so that felt even,
Oh, wow.
more coming, like actually getting here. And, they say that a move is sort of a little like a death and rebirth, right? And for me,
Definitely.
so that was a win in itself, just like finding a place um, that we like and moving everything in and unpacking. So that for me, like, because for me personally, my physical environment is extremely important. So if my physical environment is disorderly, my mind
Yep.
also
Yep. Totally.
is absolutely out of control. So, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in a little bit. You said like the resistance, so my
Yeah.
mind was like, as I was like in the middle of all these boxes, paving my way through, my mind was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. But that's awesome. Congrats on the move. I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, great work. And yeah, we'll talk about the resistance, and how to, I don't want to say overcome it, but meet it, I'll say, meet it in a different way. And also I truly believe that, right, like order in here, order out here, or disorder, or vice versa, disorder, right? And so it's always kind of like a mirror. So actually when a lot of times feel chaotic, I'll always like start purging out and clearing my space, and that helps me kind of get back to that orderly place. Yeah,
Right.
cool. Thanks for sharing. Brian, do you have a win?
Do I have a win? Well, I still haven't been fired yet, so that's a win.
Is it a win? Do you want to be fired?
I don't know.
It sounds almost like that could be some unconscious thing that you might be wanting.
Wins. I don't know. Help. The past several days I've been helping my son, who is 31, through a breakup. And it's been a win. It's been something that we've got a great relationship, and he's been very open about what's going on, and I've been helping him through that, and I think he's moving in the right direction. So that's probably my big win for the week.
Nice. I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
And I think it's really good for him. That's probably good for her too. So it's all good.
Yeah. Cool. And you made it here. That's a win too.
Well, I'm sorry I'm so late to everybody.
Yeah,
It's
no
very,
worries. Glad you made it.
me too.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's talk about resistance for a second. So, Brian, earlier I was saying how this is like about the time where resistance really sets in, where like, okay, you made the investment, you get excited, right? And so there's like some of this momentum, like to do the work, but then about 3 weeks in or so, 4 weeks in, there's like that resistance that comes up, and it can manifest in all different ways. It can be like, oh, I'm too busy to do this work, right? I don't have the time to do this, or it's not important, or just like, you sit down to maybe meditate and your mind's going crazy, or like you have like intentions to journal and it just like doesn't happen, right? So it can come up in so many different ways. Is anyone feeling that right now? Regina, I know you said yes, but yeah. Yeah. So we just want to be like the witness of that, right? Because so anytime there's resistance, it means that there's power behind it, right? So if you think about like a electrical wire, right? If it has like resistance and it's not channeling through, and then all of a sudden it like gets cleared, it's like, right? And then it can flow. And so it's the same thing with us too. So whenever there's resistance, it means that there's power in the other side. But the mind is trying to keep us safe, right? It's trying to keep us where we are, because all these change is unsafe to the mind. The way the mind works, it's wired for survival. It's not wired to thrive. And actually, really, the human mind is wired for protect, procreate, provide. That's like the basic instinctual things that the mind does, right? And so protect, it really wants to like protect us at all costs, but it doesn't realize that, because it fears the unknown, it fears change. And so it just can show up as like all these different ways that, you're not getting around to what you're doing. So I just want you to notice if it's coming up, right? And so say you, um, want to make time to meditate, or like you have intentions to meditate, but you find yourself like answering emails or getting pulled in these different directions. The best thing to do is come into the present moment. Okay, because this is really where all of our power is in the present moment. And I want you to just like slow down and pause for a minute and take 3 conscious breaths. Just like watch yourself breathe 3 times and be like, okay, what do I choose to do in this moment? And realize that every single thing is always a choice. So at that point, you could choose to not meditate, right? You could choose to continue with your work or continue what you're doing. And that's perfectly fine. We don't want to shame ourselves or judge ourselves, but we want to just consciously choose in that moment. So when we come into the present moment, we can be like, okay, what is the choice I want to make now? Right. And then we can make a more empowered choice from that place. Right. And maybe it is, you know what, I'm going to take 3 minutes and go meditate. Right. Or I'm going to take 3 minutes and quickly like do one journal prompt or something, or, quickly write out what's in my mind, get things out of here and onto paper, whatever it is. But that's like the way that we'll start to change the pattern and move through that resistance, is really just coming into the present moment. So 3 deep breaths, coming into the present moment, and then being like, okay, what do I choose to do? And then we'll get next week when we start doing the self-image, we'll take it one step further, and we can be like, what does that version of me do in this scenario, right? And you can kind of tune into that future version of you, whatever you want to call it. Like, actually, that version like really prioritizes me. And so I am going to do this work or whatever it is. But for now, just for this next week, just come into the present moment and just ask yourself, what do I choose to do? And I want you to know that when we resist anything, we're resisting everything. And resistance is just mind stuff like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have time to do that. Any type of negativity, like, why is this happening? You're like resisting the moment, right? And so when we're resisting anything, it's actually we're resisting everything. And so when you catch yourself in any type of resistance, whether it's with this work or whether it's even just, oh, the world is crazy and this shouldn't be happening and I hate that person and whatever it is, or oh, this traffic. I want you to just take 3 conscious breaths and come into the moment. This is the point of power. And just when you take those 3 conscious breaths, you'll just notice that like everything kind of slows down. You can think a little more clearly, right? And you can proceed with a more empowering choice. Okay. Everyone got that? Cool. And if you want the accountability, please use the Telegram group. Be like, I'm feeling some resistance. I want to be held like accountable to this. I find public accountability for me is the best way that I get things done. Right? That's literally what I attribute to me not drinking to, because when I made the decision to quit drinking, I sent an email to my entire email list. And I was like, okay, and it really works, right? And I do that a lot. Like on Instagram, I'll just like kind of go on my stories and I'll be like, okay, I'm committing to no sugar January, right? And just like the fact of like putting it out there, I'm like, oh shit, right? I don't want to like, I don't want to mess up. Other people know now. It's easy to disappoint ourselves, right? It's easy to kind of like go against our own word, but it's not as easy to do it when other people are involved. So leverage the power of this group if you want that accountability, being like, okay, I'm feeling some resistance. I'm going to commit to even just like a 5-minute meditation every day or whatever it is that you want to commit to, and just check in with us. So that is a really powerful way to overcome that too. Okay.
Yep.
One last thing I just wanted to mention, and I want to send you all this talk that I did about this that kind of relates to the topic of the truth of who you are, is I sometimes like to think of it as the conditioned self and the unconditioned self. Right. So if we think about the unconditioned self, that's what we want to get to, the pure I am. So like when I just took you in meditation back to being a baby, right? When you're a baby, you have no conditions, right? You were just pure, beautiful beingness, right? As a baby. And so that is your true nature, that unconditioned I am before the world tells you who you are, right? The conditioned I am is when all these then conditions start coming on you, right? It's when the world told you, oh, you're a girl, you're a boy, you're American, you're Russian, you're this, you're that, right? And then you get conditioned to be a certain way. And then that's how we build this like persona of who we think we are, right? And so I think it's cool to think about, like, again, when I took you through that meditation, and Brian, if you want to do that meditation, it'll be in the replay. But what if we took those masks off? Like, think about all those things that we try to be, right? Oh, because I know I do this. Like, I try to be a good person. I try to be really nice. And it's actually kind of hilarious that, like, we try to be these things when actually, in our true nature, is that, right? Our true nature is love. It is like, and I think a lot of times, like the way my mind works is, well, if I don't try, then I'm not going to be a good person. And that's actually not true at all, right? That really is our true nature, is that connection and is that love. It's only when we become conditioned that it gets like conditioned out of us, and then we try to then like backdoor it in, which is kind of silly. So this is really about like removing all of the layers of who we think we are down to this core I amness. Cool. All right. What can I support you guys with?
All right, I'm the resistance queen this week. I labeled myself. So I think the struggle for me, and you know, in like the messy middle, right? Is when you start the resistance part of it. Is when I don't see the measurable progress, right? It's kind of like you're mile 16 of a marathon, there's still like 10 miles to go, and it just seems like this is the longest way ever. So that I think from when my mind starts like going like, was this even a good idea? Should we proceed with this? Or maybe this is just not the right fit for you. So like all like the default modes, right? You're just like click, 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 click,
Yeah,
click, click, click.
yeah.
Allow all, right?
Yes.
Except the cookies.
Mhm.
So I think that's where like I struggle, especially now with the new environments physically too,
Mhm.
is kind of my place.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so the first thing I want to tell you, and this applies to everybody, is that there's actually nowhere to get to. There's no end. There's no final destination. I was thinking about this on my car drive today, that we always say, oh, it's about the journey. It's about the journey, not the destination, because there actually is no destination. There is no destination. Expansion is continuous. There's no arrival. And so we want to, again, just kind of see that as like another mechanism of the mind, right? Oh, once I get there, then I'll feel okay, right? Like it's just such a fallacy. It's just a way that our mind likes to project things into the future. It's a way to get us out of the present moment. And and so we want to kind of embrace that what you call the messy middle, and just be like, actually the messy middle is what life is, right? And we can move through it. Like we can either resist it, or we can move through it with like grace and have fun, right? And we can be like, okay, everything's moving, everything's changing. That is the nature of reality, is everything changes all the time, right? And I can just be that the eye of the storm, right? And again, this is going to tell me otherwise. This is going to tell me all the reasons why I can't be settled, why I can't be at peace, why I can't, why this isn't for me, this isn't the right time, right? This is going to come up with all of that. And again, that's the resistance showing that there is power in this. So you can just witness that, come into the present moment, and just be like, and you can affirm anything to yourself in that. If you want to take 3 breaths and maybe like affirm something to yourself, like, I am safe, everything is working out for me. And just be that, my mentor calls it the chill rocket ship, right? It's like you're kind of rocketing through and everything is like chaotic. And she says, like, how can I surprise myself and others with how chill I can be? Right. And that does calm our whole nervous system down, because especially like in the throes of all this, like your nervous system is activated. And when our nervous system is activated, then we have all those like anxious type thoughts. So the best thing that we can do is actually try to calm our nervous system down. So taking deep breaths, meditating, just doing anything that's not going to like get us into that fight or flight state, and just like trying to be as chill as possible through all of the chaos. But I love that you're at least noticing that narrative in your mind, which is a huge win. And you can just be like, oh, you can almost like personify it. You could be like like, I don't know, maybe like think of some sort of like creature or something.
Susan. Call her Susan, right?
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah,
alter
exactly.
ego.
Exactly, right? And you can just be like, I'm like, oh, Susan, I know you're just scared. Like, let's just take a nap. I got this, right? And actually, when you do that, it helps you disassociate from it. Like, it helps you be like, okay, this isn't who I am. This is just a part of me that's activated. And and I can just love her and just be like, okay, she's just trying to keep me safe. And let's just see what I can do to calm her down. Um, so does that help?
Yes, that helps.
And again,
I
just
love that chill rocket ship,
yes, I do.
I can just be like, I'm in my chill rocket ship.
Exactly. That's exactly. And that's how I feel like anytime now that like chaos is happening around me, and like, or I get like an email that activates me or something, I'll be like, how can I surprise myself and others with how chill I can be? Like I'm just flying through space on this chill rocket ship. I love that visual too. So I'm glad that it resonated.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And again, you could always come on. I find too that when I outlet my resistance, when I talk about it, when I journal about it, when I like a lot of times, like I'll write to you guys, right? I'll do a voice note or something because I see like it's like energy that wants to move through us. And so anytime we can outlet, so come on the Telegram channel and like say something or do something or like outlet it any way you want, right? You can even like draw or um and see if that helps too. And always walking, any type of movement in your body is always nice too. So yeah. And again, I'm just proud that you notice the resistance and that same narrative happens to me all the time. And I'll be like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, yeah. And I start to like, and then I know that, oh, actually, okay, now I recognize it. And I'm like, okay, there's actually power in this. And that's, my mind's just trying to keep me safe. So I'm going to just like calmly do this and dabble in it. So yeah, there is no destination. Just keep that in mind. There's no arrival. We're just on this ever expanding journey and it's supposed to be fun. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Brian, how are you doing with, from what we talked about the last time, just the, yeah, just, you don't feel like you thought you would feel.
Remind me again about what, or just about
Just,
where I am in my whole life.
yes, yeah. How is that going? Have you, yeah, I'm just curious, like, obviously it's only been a couple of weeks, so I don't expect you to have like a total 180 of like, oh, everything's great. But like, are you still feeling that way? You went through some major changes over the past 2 weeks. So yeah, would just love to hear where you're at.
I think really just that dialogue you guys had, just trying to be here in what is right now and enjoying it. And I mean, what you just said about it's all the messy middle. I think I'm in the messy middle, and I think I'm starting to just kind of be comfortable with whatever is or isn't, or uh,
Yeah,
try not to worry about whatever's next. Whatever's next will be next, and that's cool.
yeah, I love that. So something that's I feel like a good topic of discussion for this module too is anytime we try to seek happiness outside of us, it never works, right? Maybe it helps us feel better temporarily, and then we go back to feeling the way we were feeling, and then we look for like the next thing that's going to like make us feel happy. Once we realize that like we are the happiness that we seek, that happiness and that joy again is just our true nature, is just that presence, that aware witness that's witnessing everything that's happening, and we can identify more with that. We stop, and we can even recognize like, oh, I see how my mind is doing this again. Oh, once I have this, then I'll finally feel happy or at peace or okay or whatever it is. And we can just start to notice how the mind does that. And then we can still, again, we can proceed to have whatever it is that we think that we desire, but we can then watch what happens, right? Like I do this with food too, right? Like, like, oh, I really want that like ice cream or something, right? Once I have that, then I'll be happy. Like, I mean, our mind does this in small ways and in big ways. And then like you eat something and then you have like this like crash after it, right? Where it's like, and then you're looking for like that next like dopamine hit, basically. And so what we want to do is just, again, notice that and then consciously choose, okay, I'm in the present moment now. Do I still want that? Yeah, actually I do still want that. Okay, I'm gonna consciously choose to get this. And I'm not gonna shame myself, or I'm not gonna, and then I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna be the witness to what happens like after, right? And so when we bring this like new level of awareness to things, then it's not that we need to stop ourselves in anything. It's just that we're bringing this like extra layer of awareness, right? Because most of our habits are just unconscious. And so when we start to then bring some more mindfulness, like, okay, I'm consciously choosing to, plan this trip, or I'm consciously choosing to do whatever it is. And it's not because I think that that's what's going to make me happy. Like, yeah, I'm excited about that. I want to do it, but it's more like I'm doing it from this like grounded, rooted place in, okay, I'm choosing to have that experience, and I'm not investing my sense of self in it. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Right? Because when we start investing our sense of self in it, that's where it's like a dangerous game, right? Like, oh, I need more money so I can feel better about myself. I need this so I can feel better about myself. That's the dangerous game, because then we're just trying to like fill this void that never can be filled from the external things. We need to fill that inside. And the way we fill it is actually by becoming more present. That's it. That's all we have to do is like inhabit our own life. And think about how much of our lives we spend not inhabiting this. Our mind is in the future, it's in the past, it's all over the place. It's in somebody else's business, and we're not inhabiting ourselves. So the more we actually can just inhabit ourselves and be present in the moment, the more peace that we find here. And then the more that we're then like connected to ourselves. And again, then we're not seeking outside of ourselves. So I hope that helps.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I bought the book, The Let Them Theory,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
I haven't read the book yet, but I've been just like noticing this week, if something goes wrong, I'm just like, just let them.
Yeah.
Or if
Love
I'm
it, yes.
about to judge someone, I'm like, just let them.
Yeah. I love it. Yes, it actually is very liberating.
It is.
Yeah, I know. I keep saying it too. And I haven't even read the whole thing. I've only read like a few chapters of it. And I really like it because it's let them and then let me. And so it takes our power back, right? They do what they do, then let me make my own choice, right? And then it takes you out of like other people's business, and it helps you inhabit your own life again, right? I can consciously choose, right? Yeah, cool. Let me know how you like it.
Well, I've read it and I think it's awesome,
Oh,
man.
you
So
did?
if
Oh,
that if
good.
that if that helps anyone else, it's just amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome. I just really love Mel Robbins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool. I was going to say too, I know sometimes it can be uncomfortable to share in a group, but I learned so much from you guys. And I truly believe that. So I really believe in the law of oneness, right? That we are all one, and that we all come from one source, and we're just extensions of that one source. So when somebody else is talking, I'm like, oh, that's God talking to me. Right. And there's actually like wisdom in what other people say. Other people can be like messengers. So I find that oftentimes whatever my clients are working on, and whatever they're saying and whatever's coming out of my mouth are all things that I need to do too. So I want everyone to kind of listen like that, right? Like, oh, this is maybe a message like directly to me. This is God trying to communicate with me through somebody else. And it actually like it really does. It helps everybody. So I just appreciate everybody's like vulnerability and like willingness to share, because it truly does. Yeah, it helps us all.
I agree.
What about you? You haven't shared your win for the week.
Me, I'll share my win. So yeah, I mean, I try to be pretty open about all the things that I'm going through. Um, I have actually a couple wins. One is that I got my place in Vale all set up and it's going on the market. So you guys, I don't know if I've talked about this, but a couple years ago, I basically manifested this place in Vale that I thought was my dream home, and it manifested in the most miraculous way, and it's been a nightmare. And yeah, this is like a perfect example of like, oh, I really wanted this, and then I have it, and then I was like, oh my God. And I've been involved in this deal with this guy who was the seller, who's my neighbor, who's basically, and I don't want to play the victim mentality, but I definitely feel victimized. I feel taken advantage of in a lot of ways. And yeah, anyway, and the house has just been a huge, huge headache for me. So I went there and I had tenants for the winter and they left and I got everything set up and now it's going on the market. And I'm just calling in a buyer who's just going to come easily, effortlessly and buy. I mean, it's an amazing property and I had a lot of great times there, but it's just not what I thought it was going to be. And that's okay. We sometimes make mistakes and we have to pivot. So that's one win. My other win is that I actually spent 4 days over the weekend on Zoom on a virtual retreat with my mediumship teacher, which is really interesting, just communicating with the spirit world, learning how to communicate more with the spirit world. And honestly, this work has challenged me more than anything. Like it brings up all of your insecurities. It brings up like all these things that you have to kind of really look at yourself about looking at like trusting yourself. And yeah, there's so many facets to it. And just it's so fascinating, but I have so much reverence for it because I never seem to get I'm always amazed that I can communicate with somebody who, like, I can do a reading for somebody who I don't know them. I don't know who they have, what loved one they have across the other side. And I can bring through like pretty astounding evidence that they're like, yes, my mother. Yes, yes. Anyway, so that was my weekend. Those are my wins. Thanks for asking.
That's awesome.
Ben or John, anything I could help support you guys in?
Yeah, I'll throw this out, and I guess it goes back to some of the resistance here. Again, I'm trying to embrace this, and but I guess one of the things that I'm finding is that the from like a physical perspective, if I want to make a change, I'm comfortable with that, right? I've been conditioned with, whether it's a running or something physical, right? If I do this result comes. From a business perspective, it's the same thing. I've got the dials that I can kind of dial into and get a response. This being new, is different. So I'm kind of like for the first time in a little bit uncharted waters. As I'm going through these, I've become much more aware on a daily basis of things, but I'm not sure what to do with it, or where it's leading to. Yeah, I'm always pretty goal oriented, so it's like, okay, I'm here, I want to go here. And in a way, it's kind of weird because it's reverting me back to more business goals, physical, to say, okay, now because I can control those. But this is because it's something new. I would say I'm struggling with it, but I'm just trying to work my way through it, I guess.
Yeah,
That makes
totally.
makes sense.
Yeah, yes. And something that Regina said too that I forgot to mention, like this work is interesting because there's no real like measurable results, right? So again, for us like type A'ers that like are very goal oriented, that like want like, oh, do X, Y, Z and you get this, right? And this isn't really like it kind of is, but it's not because it's actually like this delicate balance between doing things with no expectations. We kind of want to drop our expectations a bit, which I know sounds kind of strange. And yes, and be in this unknown. So the mind does not like the unknown, right? That's the scariest thing to the mind. The mind wants to know, and the mind always tries to keep us knowing, and that's how it feels safe. And So that's, I think, what's happening with you right now. It's like there's some unknowns here, and then you're gaining awareness, which is amazing. But I almost like compare it to, you know, when you start like cleaning like a pan that has like food crusted on it, right? And you try to clean it, and before it gets clean, it like starts looking gross and really dirty, right? That's kind of what happens with this work, right? Where you start like stirring some things up and things start to actually look messier, which actually is a great sign. It's actually a sign that your vibration is changing, that your frequency is changing, and that better things are actually going to be attracting into your life. But it can be a little messy. So again, with that like messy middle. So we almost want to look at that as like a good sign. And then when it comes to your awarenesses, like I love that you're like having these awarenesses. That's so awesome. And I want you to get excited every time you do have them. Like, oh, okay, I noticed something else. Cool. Like keep this up because that kind of like signals to our brain that it's important. And then again, then it just comes down to coming into the present moment and making a conscious choice from there. And that is how we start changing our life. So like if you did the average perfect day meditation, right? Um, have you done that one? I think you said you did, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay, cool. So we can start then seeing like, okay, this is where my days are now. This is where that perfect day is. What can I do in this day to maybe just bring me a little closer to that, right? And just maybe take, you know, do one thing. But yeah, I understand how you feel about just like, yes, like you want the results, you want the goals. And it's hard, again, it's hard to measure this. Like a lot of times we don't see the changes that are happening. Um, it's only until, you know, maybe something happens where that used to really trigger you, and all of a sudden you stay calm and you're like, oh, wow, that's cool. Or like one day you wake up and your life is really different, or your day is really different. And then you're like, oh shoot, like, okay, I actually created this change. But it sometimes it's not linear, and it usually doesn't look the way we thought it was going to look, right? It is a little bit like messier and crustier in that middle, until we're like, oh, okay. Like, so again, it's just about, it really is about presence and coming into the moment and realizing that there is no place to get to, right? Because even once you get to that average perfect day, I mean, yeah, you're going to be grateful, right, that this is your life, but then there's probably going to be something, some other like expansion right from there. And so it's just about, okay, I'm stepping on this path now. Um, I really believe that there's a reason why you're here, right? That there's like, you know, something called you to this path, and you want to just really trust in the process of it. That your old way of doing things and the old self kind of has to die, right? Like that old way of always operating up here, of, you know, thinking that you have to control everything, you have to do everything. That all is actually like that's changing. You're kind of changing the way you're operating. And so again, that's why so much resistance comes up too, because you've operated that way for a long time, and it can be hard to like make that shift. Um, and so it's about having a lot of grace with yourself, and again, just like as you have these awarenesses, be like, great, I'm having these awarenesses and I don't have to actually act on anything, right? I don't need to, I'm just noticing this, and I'm excited that I'm having this new level of awareness. But you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to be like, okay, now what? Now I have to do this. Now I have to do that, right? That's actually resistance too. When we're like putting pressure on ourselves to like change or see results or whatever. So we really want to trust in the process, which I know is probably not really what you want to hear, but how can you surrender to the process? Be like, okay, let me like allow this to unfold. Like, you know, I think of like a flower, right? We don't rush a flower to open, right? We just know that if we water it and it gets sunlight, it's going to blossom into what it's meant to be. And so that's how we want to kind of what we want to do with ourselves too. We want to just know that as we do this work, as we're changing our mind, we will see the fruit of the results, but just maybe not when we thought or the way we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope that helps.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Like the
Yeah.
Mike Myers to the ego, just keeps.
I don't, and I don't like to make the ego bad, right? Because it's not, we don't want to kill a part of ourselves, right? We want to actually integrate that part of us. So, John, maybe you can even personify this, the call him something else, maybe call him like Larry, right? Whatever you want to call it, or even like a silly name, like, I don't know. And be like, okay, he got me here. He got me to be really successful in what I'm doing. And thank you. I appreciate Larry, right, for doing that. But Larry, like, you can take a back seat now. We're doing things a little bit differently, and that's okay, right? Again,
Yeah.
it's just that it's those old patterns that like really like they just try to cling on.
Yeah.
So have compassion for yourself as you go through the process.
Okay.
It's not your fault, it's a default, right? I read that
Oh, I
somewhere,
love that.
right?
Love that. I'm gonna
Mm.
send you a reel from that I saw the other day from Dr. Joe Dispenza, um, just talking about like when you're changing who you are, when you're doing this work, and what ends up happening, and how like your body is basically conditioned to this old way, and so it just fights. um, so it's just about presence with that.
Okay.
John will send Larry and Susan on a road trip.
Right.
Off the cliff.
They need their own
Louise
training.
style.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Larry.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to have compassion for them, right? Because like they did what they needed to do to get you to where you are. And they thought that they had to, right? And so now it's about, again, when you're changing, like you're changing a new way of being, they're just like, no, right? They're really fighting against that. So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
guess it's kind of like new, like trusting what is next versus what you like is exactly as I said, just knowing what got you there, it can get you there again, but maybe differently in a higher quality. I
yes,
guess it is really like
yeah.
trusting that new process or whatever it might be.
Exactly, right? Yeah, we just need to like again surrender to it and just trust in it and be like, okay, again, our mind wants everything to be perfect too. It wants to be
Yeah.
like, okay, this plus this equals this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
And we don't, that actually keeps us small. Knowing how we're going to get somewhere keeps us small and limited, right? So all we want to focus on is like this big vision, like, okay, I want to be, you know, I want to be a billionaire, whatever it is, right? And I want to do it like easily and effortlessly. I was taking a walk when I was in Vail, and I walked past this house, like it was like right outside the village, still kind of like on the ski mountain, and it was like insane. And so I go on Zillow and I look at it, and it was like $35 million. And I sent it to my partner. I was like, I found my next Vail house. And he's like, damn, I really need to like stretch my mind. He's like, your mind is crazy. And I'm like, why not? Right. And so we do, and I know it does a lot of times what we want or whatever. And again, we don't want to do it because we're seeking ourselves in it. We want these experiences because it would be really fun, right? And so, and then we just want to focus on, whether it's like the perfect day or whatever it is, we just want to like focus on that vision and not worry about the how, right? And just be like, I'm trusting in this higher power that everything is going to unfold in a miraculous way. Like the universe is going to surprise and delight me and bring me something this or even better than I could have imagined. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Ben, I know this isn't your first rodeo, so anything I could support you with?
I think for me, I've been, as I've gone through the last couple of these, I've just been trying to get just like a very sustainable kind of like developing good habits to help continue to support all these concepts, the different meditations, and kind of trying to pick and choose what is, um, what I can do consistently for, like a long period of time. And, I find value in a lot of, like everything that we do. But I also have to kind of, pick and, so for me,
Totally.
it's been, um, I work out, and almost like pretty much daily, and so I usually listen to videos during my workout. I've got Bob Proctor in the background while I'm
Nice.
lifting weights, and then the meditation I find is really key to just reinforcing all the things that I want to become and do. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so at this point, but
Cool. Yeah. Keep up the great work. Yeah. And
thanks.
I really feel that way with this stuff is like you have to feel into because I give you guys a lot. And I think, you know, I think maybe I shouldn't give so much. Actually, I should maybe pull back and be like, just focus on this. But I try to give several things so you guys can feel into like, okay, what would feel good for me? But sometimes if you're just beginning the journey, it's hard to like decipher that. Um, but really just try to check in with yourself, like what would feel good. And so I think you're doing a great job. And, I think you're a great example, Ben, too, is again, we've known each other for a few years now, and you've been with like officially in the program for like a year, maybe. And
Yeah.
I've noticed so many changes about you, but you probably don't notice them as much. And so yeah, again, like when we're with ourselves every single day, it's like it's kind of like those of you who have kids or grandkids, I guess, or nieces and nephews, right? Your own kids, you don't notice that they're growing. But if you have like grandkids or nieces and nephews, next time you see them, they're like, oh my God, they're huge, right? They change so much. And it's the same thing with us. Like we don't notice how much we're changing. And then it's not until like somebody else maybe says something about like, oh, you seem a lot calmer, or like you seem happier, and so we just have to trust in it that like the work works and we just gotta continue with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I try to just look at just kind of the trends in my life and the trends that and because it's really hard to quantify
Mhm.
how it's benefiting you. And but I do think that there's definitely a correlation with the good things that are happening for me.
Mhm.
So I try to take a step back every once in a while and just think about that.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
love that.
And I think it's with everything, it's like if you're following a workout program, you see a lot of benefit in the first few months, but then
Mhm.
you sort of plateau, but you continue to get benefit from it. It's just that it's
Totally.
not it's up and down. Like sometimes it's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I love
but
that.
over the long period, you get a huge reward for it. You just got to stay consistent.
Yeah, great analogy. I love that.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate you all. Appreciate your openness, your willingness, and just, being on this journey. And yeah, I will send you guys that Dr. Joe clip. And I'll also, if you want to watch it, I did a talk sometime last year on the unconditioned I am versus the conditioned self. Um, don't know pressure of whether you feel called to watch it or not. But I just thought I would send that. And yeah, let us know if there's something you want to be held accountable to.
Guys, we'll see you next week.
Hey, thank
Have
you.
a great week.
Bye,
Have a
Thank you.
guys.
great week,
Have a great
everyone.
Thank you,
week,
guys.
everyone.